Hello everyone, welcome back to the Fetchquest podcast, where we talk about video games and more. Today, I am your host, Guy Thomas, and I am joined by my fellow co-host, Logan Brewer,
What's
Liam,
up?
and Connor.
Hello.
What's up,
Hello.
everyone?
Yo, guys. I'm going to be honest. My birthday kinda sucked.
What?
Why-
Dude, no way.
what
What
happened?
happened? Tell us.
What
Well,
happened,
my
Liam?
baby
You gotta
girl
tell us.
didn't respond to me when I was wanting to get lunch. Right, Guy?
Wait, who didn't respond to you?
My baby girl. Guy. That's you.
Dude, I was in class, you know this.
I can't believe you broke my heart.
That
Guy,
makes sense for a guy to do. He's a prick.
Liam,
I
I'm
was
so
in class,
sorry.
I couldn't do anything!
Liam,
Oh my god.
Liam, I am so sorry the guy broke your
Yeah.
heart like that, and on your birthday too. Like, it's honestly like so sad.
Honestly, if you want us to go kick guy just right in the
No.
face for you with steel-toe boots on, we will gladly do that for you.
No, I have something I must do. Guy, you broke my heart so much that I'm going on my villain arc.
And that brings us into today's topic, everyone. Video game villains. What we love about them,
I like
what
the
we
little
hate about them.
scream of Liam. Ah!
That was pretty good.
Thank
But
you.
as I was saying, we're going to be talking about video game villains today. The ins and outs of them. What makes a good one? What makes a bad one? Some do's and don'ts, and some good villains and bad villain examples. So, boys, let's talk about video game villains. So let's just get this off the board up right quick. What's your favorite villains in video games? I have a very obvious one, but I'm not gonna say it for spoiler reasons.
Yeah, the problem is
GLaDOS.
mine's same.
GLaDOS.
Oh, it's the same one, isn't it?
Yeah, at least antagonist-wise, since
Yeah,
he isn't a
antagonist.
villain,
Yeah.
but he's an antagonist.
I'm gonna keep saying it. I love GLaDOS. I think she's just awesome.
Yeah, GLaDOS from Portal and Portal 2. Oh my god, she's really fucking good.
Yes, because not only does she have kind of she's one of those characters where you start off and she's like, all right, she's just she's kind of like your host, where she's your tutorial where she's teaching you how to get through everything. And then as the game progresses, you slowly realize she does not have your best interest in heart.
I think she also falls under the handsome Jack thing, where it's like you actually don't spend a lot of time with the villain, but the fact of the matter is that they're always talking to you throughout the game. That really leaves an impact with you, because essentially they're with you through the entire game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I think villains, even if they don't they're not there for long. Like, one of my favorites is Senator Armstrong from Metal Gear Rising. He's literally only in the last section of the game, and he only has a couple mentions, and you only see the back of his head through the middle portion of the game. But everyone fucking loves him because who wouldn't want to fight a U.S. senator?
It is okay. That is a really fun one. Connor, what's your favorite villain / antagonist?
Well, my favorite antagonist is someone you guys wouldn't let me talk about. So, for the purposes of this video, my favorite villain is Ravenbeak from Metroid Dread, because he's very intimidating. He's got a strong presence throughout the story. He's a big bad guy, and he's pretty awesome design-wise.
Metroid has a lot of villains that are really good with designs. I mean, I know a lot of them are monsters, so some of them aren't super deep. I mean, I know a couple are, but design-wise, at least, Metroid villains usually are always very good.
Oh, for sure.
Very-
Especially since they really they have a good monstrous feel to them too, because it makes sense because they're aliens. You know what I mean? There's a lot that the developers could do with that, and they've done pretty well with that. That's why Craig and Ridley are so iconic, is because not only are they just good boss fights and fun to do, but they're also just their design is fucking awesome.
Well, in Ridley's case, he just keeps finding ways to come back. You think you've killed that motherfucker until he's back in the next game. He's like, guess who's here?
It's
It's
me.
just like Sephiroth for real.
Speaking of villains who
Oh,
always
Sephiroth.
come back, have you guys heard of William Afton?
Oh my god.
Connor,
Oh
I'm gonna
my
go
God.
stuff you in the suit. I'm gonna paint myself purple while doing it
All
just for
right,
you saying
listen,
that.
He does kind of bring up a good point. That is a good villain, because you basically never meet him, but he has such a presence throughout the game because of the lore.
He was a
It's
good
kinda
villain
crazy.
until Security Reach. Then he became bad.
I don't want to get into FNAF lore because that is a whole nother rabbit hole.
We'll do
Yeah,
FNAF
me and
later.
I want to do
yeah.
FNAF lore
We'll
very
do
badly.
FNAF whenever we eventually do a mascot horror one. And then we'll talk about FNAF and the greatest game of all time, Garden of
Garden
Banban.
of Banban.
No, that deserves its own episode. What do you mean?
Oh, you're
But
right. You're so right.
I am killing all
um,
of you. I'm going on my own villain arc now.
going back to like some villains, let's talk about what are some what makes a good villain, because there's a lot of factors in this that like make a good antagonist, and honestly, like I think there's more stuff that goes into making a good antagonist than there is protagonist, in my opinion.
Okay, I think the first
Yeah.
simplest one we can go over because there's a lot of complexities, but the simplest one, what mad shit do they do? So, like, in Sephiroth's case, we all know what Sephiroth
Oh
does.
no, spoiler! Just say it. Just say it.
First off, burns
He-
places
he,
down. He likes fire a lot.
Sephiroth down airs a woman.
Yeah,
You're so right.
there's a specific character that you really love in the game, and then he's like, wouldn't it be funny if I just stabbed them?
Yeah.
Yep.
What if I
and
used down air on stage?
And then took away all your Phoenix downs, so you couldn't revive them.
I hate that plot hole. I hate that plot hole so much because people because Final Fantasy VII haters will fucking use that as a crutch, as like a plot hole. I'm like, you do not understand good storytelling.
Also, that's just a thing of story versus game. Whenever
Exactly.
a character gets downed in battle, I see that more as they fainted, like Pokemon.
Exactly.
I think another one for like, what do they do? Like, there's a lot of visual novel antagonists and villains I want to talk about, but majority of them are spoilers. But one that I can talk about, because it's very obvious they're villains, is like the Peacekeepers and Master Detective Archives Raincode. Because throughout the entire games, they try to like make sure the truth does not get exposed. They try to gaslight everyone basically, and be
You need
like,
to explain what the fuck that game is.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna need a bit of an explanation here.
Yeah, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
So in the Master Detective Archives Raincode series, you play as a detective, okay? And you're in this city that's always raining, and it's been isolated from the entire world. So they don't even have their own cops, but they do have their own like peacekeepers, because the city is run by a corporation called Amaterasu. So there's no actual like proper governing force. There's just this one corporation that's running everything for some reason. And the main like the closest thing to a law enforcement there is the peacekeepers. And throughout the entire time, they try to come up with whatever explanations they can for the cases that you go into, because they don't want the truth to be exposed, because most of them are taking bribes. They are stupidly corrupt. So they're always trying to halt your investigations, always trying to find little reasons to get you arrested. And the head of them's named Yomi Hellsmile. He is just the fucking devil. Like, the voice actor did a good job of portraying him as the devil, but also like one of his subordinates, they messed up on one case. And he's like, man, you know what? I love you so much, but you kind of messed up this case. So you know what? I'm just gonna do what any reasonable person would do, since I do love you so much. And you want to guess what he does? Like, just try
What's
to
he do?
guess for a second.
He commits
Rape.
mass genocide.
Okay, so what he does is he boots up Minecraft, right? He takes some hydraulic presses, and he's like, okay, person
my
that you
balls.
failed, because I love you so much, but you also messed up, I have to punish you. So I'm going to turn you into a Minecraft cube and have you on my person at all times.
Jesus.
I like my version better.
I like Liam's too.
I like Liam's rewrite.
Liam tried, but yeah, they were
Wait.
like screaming. They're like, "Yomi, no, please, no, no!" He was like, "Man, they will look so good as like a keychain." It's like, this dude is fucked up.
Wait, is he like
Jesus.
is he openly fucked up, or is he like hidden like, oh, I'm a
No,
good guy, but
he is just fucked up.
because that's what I want to bring up, like the difference between villains who are like openly villains, and then you have like the villains who pretend to be like a normal part of society or like good, and then they're actually evil. Which one
Jeffrey
do we
Dahmer.
prefer?
Gustavo Fring.
Yeah,
Guys,
no,
this is
the
a video
villains-
game channel.
Yeah, the villains for Master Detective, they aren't like the most sympathetic or deepest, but I think narratively they work well for just like what you try to do as a detective, like expose any and all truths while they like keep trying to hide the truth and come up with bullshit explanations. And also, some of them are just fucked up, and that they're just fun villains too.
I get that. But that is something that should be brought up, is like the impact of the villain, because like a villain can be memorable, like, you know, just for being the villain's sake, depending on what they do. But I think the real like nail in the coffin, the cherry on top of the ice cream that people remember villains for is just that one scene or that one like impactful thing they did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's what a villain is built upon, like Sephiroth doing his down air.
Killing Aerith, yeah.
Eris, yeah.
Aerith. It's
No,
EH at
no.
the end.
I actually looked it
No.
up.
It's a
Yeah,
it's a translation error.
No.
No,
Even though
it
it's
is
spelled as that, it's pronounced differently. Same as the reason people on Twitter are going crazy over funny Catman, Kate Sith.
What?
But yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's whole nerd.
they,
Let's not get into pronunciation for a second. We can argue about that later, because for
but
Final
they're
Fantasy
like,
VII, especially, so many of the characters have names that have origins, but then the developers say there's a different way they're supposed to be pronounced.
Okay, no, you don't trust Square Enix. You don't like. No, Square Enix are bad developers. Don't listen to them. They're terrible now.
I thought you were gonna say the real villain of Final
They're
Fantasy
the real
VII.
villain.
That
They
was
Nomura.
literally
so
were
much
printing
better
off
than what you did
NFTs.
say.
the real villain of the video game industry is EA. We can all agree.
Yeah.
You're so right. But
I think
Impact,
there
like
are worse
Impact is
companies than EA.
No,
EA
EA's
is pretty bad, but
Yeah, EA's
I'd
pretty
say
bad.
Ubisoft.
Ubisoft's
Ubisoft
bad,
is pretty
but
bad.
the
Ubisoft is pretty
microtransactions
bad,
that
yeah.
prey on children is the biggest thing that I hate with EA, especially with the case they had, where they were trying to justify like those things as just surprise mechanics.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But going back to like what it takes to like be a good villain, a good part of the impact from the villain is also the connection to the protagonist that villain has.
Oh, I have
Like-
a good example.
Yes.
I won't say who it is because it's a spoiler, but the one of the main villains in Red Dead Redemption 2, one of my
You're
favorite
so
villains.
right! I know who you're talking about. He's a fucking awesome character. Holy shit.
Yeah, he's a rat. That's what he is.
Well, without saying who the character is, try to explain like
His
how they
impact on the
parallel.
story is he is with you a lot of the time. You and him start off very similar. You guys are kind of mirrors of each other. But as you deal with like the mortality of others and yourself and all of this, you start to change, and he is now a reflection of your past instead of your present. And so like fighting him is you trying to save what future you have left.
And here's the thing, he's actually the first, besides the main character, Arthur Morgan, he's the character that you meet first in the
You-
entire story, so yeah.
Interesting.
Probably shouldn't have said that because anyone who
Yeah,
People don't know what I'm talking about.
You always spoil everything for
you
people.
do spoil
It
a
is
lot on
kinda crazy.
accident.
Guy, try not to spoil anything challenge. Impossible.
For
True.
another villain that has that at least one of my personal favorites that also has a connection with the protagonist would probably be Martin Lee from Spider-Man PS4. Like,
That is a good one. That is a good one.
He is a good one, but I'd
I
argue
think-
Doc Ock is better.
I think Doc Ock
I
is
didn't want
better.
to say that because it could be a spoiler technically.
Not
He's
really.
in the promotional. Oh my god, no
Okay,
way.
okay, I'm gonna
No
say this.
way.
In this case, also Spider-Man's media mainly exists outside video game sphere. Everyone knows Doc Ock is a
I'm trying to
villain.
be careful because I don't know who. Like, again, I'm trying to be careful here. But yes,
Okay,
Doc
but
Ock
say-
I
is
get that.
definitely a
I
better
get that, but
example.
that's like that's more generalized. And plus, like,
be careful, and then you say his real name instead of the villain name, so you
Because they
already
don't call
messed up.
him. They don't call. They
you're so
hardly ever
right.
call him.
You're so
You
right.
call him by the name that he calls
Because
by his
Martin Lee was in the promotional material as well, and he's the secondary. He is in the
Literally.
second.
Oh my god, he spoiled it. Oh my
He
god.
literally spoiled
You
his
do
name.
realize that they hardly call him Mr. Negative in the game, right? They don't
Yes.
call him that. They
Oh,
call him
now I know.
Martin
Now I
Lee.
know who. Now I know who is Elias. Now I know who he actually is. Thank you, Connor.
Oh my
He
god.
literally
that's
is
so
revealed as the
funny.
like. There is no build up.
I'm
You literally
dying.
know that it is him before you know it is
Oh my
Mr.
god,
Negative.
Connor.
Okay,
No.
okay, guys, getting back on track.
Uh,
Doc Ock in Spider-Man is really important because like he really doesn't become like a villain or antagonist till very near the end of the game, and you see his progression through that. Not just that, but he has a very tight bond with Peter throughout the game, which is, oh my god, he's such a good villain in that game.
He is a very good villain.
He's very good. He's one of my favorites, honestly.
yeah,
He's
they
just
did a
like-
they did
there's
a
a
good
scene in that
job.
game.
Oh, sorry,
You
you go
first.
first.
Okay, there's a scene right after the final boss in Spider-Man that like I think Liam's gonna know what I'm talking about. Like Peter is
Yes.
ranting. Peter is
Yes.
ranting. And he like they're in the building in like the wreckage, and he just rants to him saying he looked up to him, and I literally like started crying. I'm not
I
even kidding.
also did. I also
Okay,
did. Don't worry.
so I know what you're talking about too. There is a similar scene to that, right? Well, not similar, but it also takes place right after final boss, and it is the first time I ever cried at anything in media. Like it was such a good scene.
Your
Yeah.
soul is blackened. Holy shit.
Yeah, I think the Spider-Man games are an example like superhero games that like they did a really good job of translating the original material.
Yeah.
It was such a perfect game to use as or perfect material to use as a medium for video games because they've done it before. I mean, most of like the combat and everything is based off of Spider-Man 2 video game, I believe,
Yeah.
and like all that.
But that's for a different episode.
Yeah, but what I'm
A
saying is
future
that like
episode, maybe.
they
Maybe.
translated every aspect of what it means to be Spider-Man into a game, and one of that things is with Doc
Like the
Ock,
villains, yeah.
where like they are a reflection of the main character. And in my opinion, that is like the strongest connection a villain can have is being a mirror.
Yeah, well,
Exactly.
I think
Being a
beyond
foil, something
beyond like a
like
direct
Yeah.
connection, like Peter's relationship with Doc Ock, I think like having a parallel too makes a good connection. Like Senator Armstrong that I mentioned before, a lot of people see him for just the memes, but if you actually play the game, another reason why people love him is because of his ideals. They can actually look kind of similar to what Jack wants in the game, but the main difference is the extremes he's gonna go for while Jack is gonna keep trying to go on an honest fight. Like Jack is just gonna try
That's
to keep wielding his sword to like protect the people he loves and everyone else, while Senator Armstrong's like, if we sacrifice a couple people, it's fine.
That's something I actually want to bring up, is that like really the difference between a lot of villains and protagonists is just that the villains are willing to go to the extreme, and that's kind of it in some cases, which sounds simplistic, but it's not.
A lot of villains are the definition of the means justify the ends, while a protagonist is usually not that. That's what I've noticed with a lot of them.
To paraphrase Doc Ock from Spider-Man PS4, he says something similar to this. I can't remember the exact line, but it's something like, to be a strong man means to take the risk that another one isn't. It's something similar to that. I can't remember the exact line, but it's very similar.
No, but
to
yeah, I
that.
get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
think
yeah,
that's
it
I
sort
think
of
that's
encapsulates that
the
mentality.
strongest villains are the ones that basically make the hero question if what they're doing is worth it, if their quest or their goal is worth all of this suffering that they go through, or all this like guilt, pain, whatever they have to like deal with, if it's all worth it at the end, if their goal truly justifies the means.
Again, which
Well, that goes into
multiple
sympathy as well.
yeah. I think there's a lot of villains you could apply that to, and almost all of them are in Spider. And a lot of them, the villains in Spider-Man PS4, also fall into that category.
You're
But
very right.
That's why I'm so
but
excited for Spider-Man 2, because I mean,
yeah, I can't wait to get my
No, I am too. I
PS5.
really am. It looks so good. But
yeah,
again, that's for a different episode.
yes.
Um,
Alright, yeah, let's stop talking about Spider-Man and
Well,
let's start talking about
Especially, I want to like look on the more video game side because, like, well, yeah, Spider-Man PS4 is a game, but like a lot of the characters we're looking at were established comic book characters.
yeah,
that
let's
have
let's talk
long
about
Yeah.
more like
that have long
original
histories.
Yeah.
villains. I think that's a better
Yeah, I mean, I will agree
Like-
they
But,
do have their original elements in the game, but they're still based off a large character sheet.
Brewer is right.
But yeah, they're still
here's
ones.
another
still good.
here's another thing I want to bring up with like kind of what makes a good villain. And this one's a lot more open-ended because it's really dependent on how the game does it, but how much the villain slash antagonist is in the game.
Ooh,
So
I
my
also have a
favorite
That's a good
example.
point.
Also, the
That- my
last
favorite-
villain in the
my-
game.
My favorite antagonist slash villain, it really is an antagonist, he's not even a villain. He's the final palace ruler of Persona 5 Royal. I'm not giving any names, but a big part of why he's my second favorite character ever written, only behind Guts Berserk, is that you spend a
Couldn't go
lot of time.
one episode without mentioning Guts Berserk.
We literally
it's
need to
gonna
have like
plug it
one
in.
of those. We need to have like one of those signs that says like days guy is
zero
gone
days
without
without-
mentioning Berserk.
on the video
Yeah.
game podcast.
But the dude that I'm talking about, you spend a lot of time in the base game with him just to learn about him and learn about his ideals, which I think makes the final part of the game very, very effective because you're shocked at what he's doing, but it's really not that surprising when you think about it. Contrast this to Final Fantasy VII, where Sephiroth is such an imitating force of like pure power and pure like sheer like insanity. But the thing is, he's really not in the game all that much if
Yeah.
you've played the original.
You know,
Which
I'm
is
playing
something
through
I'll
the
get into.
original right now, and like I was expecting to see him a bunch because like he's so iconic. He was put in Smash Bros. And in Remake he was showing up all the time for some reason. But in
Yeah.
the original game, through the like entire Midgar section, he was like only slightly mentioned at most.
Once.
Yeah,
And then
but he
second at
never
the
showed
very
up.
end. Second at the very end of the Midgar section, which actually I'll talk about later, but I really hate the new renditions and interpretations of Sephiroth because they're it's not him. I'm gonna be for real, it's not him.
Yeah, you know what? The Sephiroth right now is a total bitch. I bet he couldn't do a single thing to me.
Liam, you want to take on
Sure.
Sephiroth?
Liam?
What was that?
Liam?
Guys, I think Liam just fucking died.
Sephiroth wasn't taking
Oh.
that.
Guys, just like in Final Fantasy VII.
You know what?
Dude,
no more.
Sephiroth, dude,
Oh my
Sephiroth
God.
actually just down aired Liam. That's crazy.
Oh
No-
my god,
Nomura
there's
just
no way.
he didn't like that Liam was talking shit about Sephiroth, so he writ Sephiroth into real life to kill him.
That is so sad. Holy shit.
Rest in peace, Liam.
But
Yeah.
okay. That's the end of Liam. So we're just gonna have to continue our journey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
there's
um,
one thing
Liam
I want to
has
mention with
Liam has
Sephiroth.
died.
One
R.I.P.
scene,
Liam. He will be missed.
R.I.P. Liam.
He will be missed.
One scene that really was impactful for Sephiroth, as I'm playing through the game right now, is at one point in the game you have to go over this like a river, right, or this lake, And the thing is, you can't really get over it because there's this giant serpent that's like
I
that's
know
like
what you're
swimming
talking
around.
about. Oh my
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
god, I love that part. I love that
yeah.
part.
What happens is if you get in contact with that thing, it's a massive boss. That thing will like one shot you. You have no way of fucking fighting that thing. So you got to get a chocobo and run across it before it can catch you. So once you finally do manage to get over it, you get to an area, you look up, that same snake is like stabbed through the head and was made into a play toy by Sephiroth.
Yeah, it's supposed to like intimidate the player because like most players logically are gonna like try to cross the lake like 1 or 2 tries, and they're gonna get one shot by that snake. And so once you figure out, you get a chocobo. Oh hey, I've now crossed it, and I avoid the really really strong enemy that's 30 levels above me. Sephiroth fucking annihilates that thing without ease, and it's just
Yeah.
like
And
right there in front of you.
he has it stabbed on a pike on a tree. Like that goes to levels, and like in the back of your mind too, someday you are going to have to face Sephiroth, whether you like it or not. The whole
That
mission
just
you're on right now is
scares
to
you.
chase him, and you're like, we have to fight this man?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a part of why I love Final Fantasy VII's like story, is because a lot of it is like it's a cat and mouse game between Sephiroth and the party, but the thing is that like you're scared to like see what happens next, because not only does Sephiroth like display so many different like examples of power, but he is willing to play dirty and will fucking destroy your party members. Like literally, he kills Aerith midway through the game.
Yeah.
You
Which
know what I
with
mean?
how
So
close
it
with how close of a
scares people to
bond you
progress.
have to her,
Exactly.
it
Yeah,
hits you really hard.
it
Because
hits you
she
hard.
wasn't a throwaway character. She's someone you've met at like the beginning of the game and was with you on the journey almost the entire time.
Yeah, and that's what makes Sephiroth just more impactful. Which I'll get into this now because might as well. We're on the topic of Sephiroth. People don't understand Sephiroth nowadays. He is a villain that benefits on less is more, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
get what you're
one
saying.
reason why like remake is so iffy, because there's a lot of good elements to it, and it's great that the visuals were updated to the point they were. But Nomura stepping in to add Sephiroth like that, and they
I'll
wanted
explain
to,
this right now. I'll explain exactly what Sephiroth remake is, okay?
yeah,
Gay
It's so
twink.
dumb. Literally dumb. So Final Fantasy VII Remake is actually not a remake. It's actually a sequel to Advent Children. You're probably asking, but wait, it takes place in the Midgar section of Final Fantasy VII Original. It can't be a sequel. It is.
because Advent Children is a shitty movie.
So what happened is that Advent Children existed. It's a terrible movie, by the way. Like, seriously, if you ever play Final Fantasy VII Original, just end the game there, and you're gonna be satisfied. Advent Children revived Sephiroth for no reason, so that Cloud can fight him in CGI battles. He loses, then goes back in time to stop Cloud and the others before he could get powerful enough to kill him.
And the thing that doesn't make sense about that too is, like I mentioned before with the snake thing, he easily annihilated an enemy that you could not even touch. But apparently in remake, he couldn't just like stab you through the back while you weren't looking at him. Like really?
Yeah, because canonically, like, no shit. Canonically, the Sephiroth that you fight as the final boss in Remake should be the most powerful version of him, like, in the entire series. But no, a level 15 Cloud, like, comparatively to where he should be in, or like, original, is able to take him down. What?
Makes no damn sense.
No, Remake really scuffed Original's Sephiroth, in my opinion. No, I don't... A lot of people who like Sephiroth in Remake, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think they realize the point of his character.
They're
They
horny
just,
for
like...
him because he's hot and HD now.
Yes, that's really it. And I think that's an example of how not to do a villain, in my opinion.
Well, remake
Speaking
just does a
of,
lot of scuffs things, like the plate dropping scene in the original, where it's like, holy shit, everything's coming down, everyone's gonna fucking die. And remake, it's like, okay guys, we need to slowly evacuate everyone out. Just come down, plate's coming down. I know it's a minor inconvenience. Please move out. And within a week, the plate drops after everyone had like 6 business days to move out all their valuables.
Yeah,
It's just dumb.
it really is. But
Moves a lot of the tension away from the scene, like Kevin Sephiroth show up so much.
it really does. Because the thing is, Sephiroth is not even the main antagonist at that point of the story. It's actually a switcheroo.
Yeah, we'll get into remake another day, because also it shouldn't even really be called a remake.
It's not a remake. But if we're gonna talk about how
I
not to
think
do
we should
villains,
talk about. Yeah, we should discuss some more bad villains, which there are plenty of.
There are plenty. I'm really the only one who can attest to this because I've actually played the game. But the duo, the Siren twins in Borderlands 3 are awful villains. Oh my god. So Borderlands 3 had the really, really big task of coming off of Handsome Jack in Borderlands 2, which is also like one of the best villains in any video game because he's with you the entire time because he talks to you through intercoms. He kills off main characters that you grow attached to with. Not just that, but his own fucking daughter.
And it's a guy called Handsome Jack. How could you not love him?
Exactly. And he's charming too. He's charming as fuck. And he literally he's one of the richest characters in the universe because of how charming and good looking he is with his and how good he is at business. I love Handsome Jack.
Dude, he's like a D&D character with like max charisma stats.
Exactly. And in Borderlands 3, they replaced him with, guess what?
Annoying.
They replaced him. They replaced him with Logan and Jake Paul with psychic powers.
Oh god, that's horrifying.
Jesus Christ.
Not Logan and Jake Paul.
It's pretty bad. It's really bad.
So Logan Paul was already bad enough, but Jake Paul on top of that.
Not the low gang.
I'm not gonna lie when I say the lore between the twins is pretty interesting, is that, the sister one was born with siren powers, which in lore of Borderlands, there are always 7 female beings in the universe at one given time that have siren abilities, which are essentially like these really powerful psychic abilities. The female one, was a siren, and she lent some of her powers to her brother, making them essentially both sirens, using the same powers. And their dad spoiled them too much when they were kids, and they got way too curious about the world. And because of that, he realized he created like some terrible human beings because of like he just kept them captive for most of their childhood. But the problem with that is that it doesn't really seem like that because they're fucking streamers. I'm not even kidding. They're actually streamers. They're streamers, yes.
They're literally Logan and Jake Paul. That's crazy.
Dude,
they try to be charismatic streamers.
They probably shoot people.
They try to be charismatic streamers.
They probably shoot people in the game, and then like, oh my god, guys, look at this dead body.
Man, oh yeah. To prove that they are Logan and Jake Paul, they also live stream executions.
That's funny.
That's crazy.
They're literally Logan and Jake Paul.
It would be crazy if it took place in a forest of some sorts.
You're so right.
They're gonna be like,
that's
oh my
an example
god, he's hanging.
To me, it's really how not to, because like not only are they trying to develop 2 villains at one time, but it's also just like the lore that they try to set up for them just really doesn't match their character. Not just that, but they don't really leave that big enough of an impact, unlike Handsome Jack. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think twin duo villains can work because they can represent like 2 different like sides of a coin or 2 different personalities and stuff like that. There's a lot you can do. Yeah, you can do a lot with duo villains, but making them Logan and Jake Paul is not the way to go.
You're so right.
I mean, if it was actually Logan and Jake Paul, though, to some degree that could be good because that means I could actually fucking punch them.
But they'll try to sell you NFTs, and then you can punch them in the face. And then they'll try to
drink prime.
You want a box, bro? You want a box? Come on, let's box, bro.
That's my Logan Paul impression.
Yeah, and anytime he gets into controversy, he's like, I'm gonna go win another boxing match. Let's wrestle.
I just sell more energy drinks and, and go in the cage.
And people will forget about everything you did.
Exactly.
I'm gonna make.
Oh my
I've
god.
made a severe.
Speaking of forgetting, I don't mind spoiling this villain because it is stupid fucking obvious that she is a villain, and she's not a major villain either. Because as much as I want to talk about Xenoblade villains, about all of them are spoilers, especially the one from the first game. That is a major fucking spoiler. But in the first game, one of the villains, or like minor villains, her name's Lorithia. All of her dialogue, she's almost like, "Oh, it would be a shame if something happened to this person," and then you're like, "Man,
It would be a shame
man,
if I were
wonder
to
if they're a villain."
execute someone.
Is like, I hate that Melia bird bitch. I hope she dies. It's like, man, I wonder if she's a villain.
Man,
It's
it'd be
crazy
a
too, because-
shame.
You first.
I was just gonna make a bad joke.
Okay, but yeah, once you get to a certain section in the game, she reveals that she's a part of this group of bad people. She's one of the leaders, and you're like, oh my god, you were a villain? You wanted us to die and you're with this bad person? I couldn't believe that. And then she proceeds to have also a very horrible boss fight, so...
Yeah, her boss fight's fucking awful.
I do not know how I beat her on the first try.
You know, it's funny too, because like Xenoblade 1 actually has like some of my favorite villains in all the video games. It's crazy. Which I'm not going to say who they are because spoilers, obviously, but
Yeah, that's
oh
what I
my
said.
god.
I love Xenoblade villains, but I cannot talk about them in this episode because they are just spoilers.
I love two of them. They are conveniently they are both from the first game.
But Guy, I thought you were afraid of the number 2.
Yeah, exactly. No,
You got
Brewer,
lucky,
wait,
right?
no. Brewer, what he's saying, it's a code. He's trying to say he loves the villains from Xenoblade 2. It's
You're
code.
right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Oh my god. But yeah, there are multiple ways of how to do a villain right and like incorrect. Like obviously like we're no masters of creating villains here because like
Yeah.
we're just fucking amateur podcast makers. But still, it's just like I think it's interesting to have this conversation because like I feel like we're having a lack of like really good antagonists in video games nowadays. Like the best one I can think of like as of recent is Odin from God of War Ragnarok.
So, personally, I think what makes a good villain is their role with how well do they fit in their role in the story.
That's a good
So-
one. That's a really good one.
Yeah, that's a really
Like-
good one.
Because if their role is to be comedic and like not super intimidating but comedic, or like or just like as a challenge, then I think Hi-Fi Rush's villain is pretty good. His whole point is to be comedic. He's not meant to be taken seriously for all that much.
Yeah,
Like,
Hi-Fi Rush
and
is a
so
really
he
good
fits his role
story.
perfectly.
Yeah, because like with Hi-Fi
Yeah.
Rush villains, that one of them's like literally a reference to JoJo.
Exactly, like
which
that.
Their villains are
you're
kind
not-
of over the top, so I think them having over the top villains works for the story they're going
Yeah,
with.
exactly. Like, but there are also villains. I think another good aspect of villains is what they do for the world building. And one villain that is very bad, especially in that aspect, is Chronica from Mortal Kombat 11.
Yeah, she's a horrible villain. Oh my lord.
Any
Mortal
person,
Kombat lore does not make sense, or is just stupid.
it does not, but Chronica is especially bad, and you ask any Mortal Kombat fan and they will say Chronica is bad. They
The problem
literally,
with her. You first.
I was gonna say literally, and I'm not gonna spoil it, but there are literally multiple points in MK1 where they like dog on Chronica, like the MK1, the newest Mortal Kombat. It's a
Which
little
is which is
confusing.
actually Mortal Kombat 12. Don't fucking play into the
It-
title marketing.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's
It's
Mortal Kombat
stupid.
12. But Chronica is a bad villain for multiple reasons. One of the worst parts, I think, is that she is supposedly this god of time. She controls everything. Which, a little side note, villains that control character destinies or control will are so stupid in any media because it immediately takes
Well,
out any action.
me and Guy will
Hold
actually
up,
have
yeah.
to.
Me and Ver have the right thought. Okay,
Yeah,
Connor,
literally the
Connor.
villain that's a major spoiler for Xenoblade 1.
Okay,
No, no,
it
no. I
can.
was gonna say end of Persona 5 Royal.
Well, also, yeah, Persona
Okay,
5 Royal.
that's. I'm
That's a better
talking
villain,
about
too.
like that. Persona 5 Royal Villain is good because Persona 5 Royal Villain is not a god. I hate
It takes
characters
the role
that.
of God, technically.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
they literally take the role of God.
Okay,
That's why
let
they have
me
so much
rephrase
power.
this. If it is done exceptionally well, like Persona 5 Royal Villain, it is good. But there are so many times where a character has the control over time or they control destiny itself. And it's so bad because it takes out any and it'll be like I was actually controlling everything from behind the scenes the entire time because it takes out any action the characters had. It makes everything seem like this character didn't do that sacrifice, didn't make that choice. It was all pre-planned and for example, this isn't a video game, so I'm not going to dwell on it, but Kang from Loki season 1 is terrible because his entire thing is that he literally caused them to come and meet the heroes to come and meet them. I'm not going to dwell on it, but
I actually would argue different. I'd actually argue different because in Loki, like that show specifically, free will does exist. It's just that like timelines where the wills that were created that don't line up with his viewpoint are the ones that get eliminated. But free will does exist.
Well, I think another thing I'd mention about
well,
Connor's
the
whole
reason
destiny
why
thing and time is that I think the reason you're seen as bad is because it's a very easy thing to mess up because you can very lazily just have a villain
exactly.
go, "I've been controlling everything behind the scenes."
And
But
that's what
when you
I'm
do
saying.
it
That's the
right,
point
though,
I'm making.
when you do
That's
it
the point.
right,
No, I completely get that.
That's
yeah,
the
yeah,
point
But I
I'm
mean,
making, though.
but like,
That when it is done
but if no,
right, it is really good.
but if we're thinking in the context of that show, then all of the previous development that the heroes have had in that universe were of their own free will.
Well,
Within
I would argue
were
different
free and free will.
because this is going to be the final say because again, this isn't a video game; it's not relevant. But the reason why I argue against that is because literally in the final confrontation, he basically hands them a script of everything they're going to say and everything they have done. And so it basically makes it to where like, oh, I actually wrote all of this, so you had no free will in coming to meet me because I just wanted it to happen. That's my argument for that.
No, I get that.
Be-
I get that.
I
but
get that it is an easy thing to mess
that's
up. But there are
It is, yeah,
characters
it
who
is
have
a really big thing to
done
mess up.
something similar,
yeah,
like
that's
Xenoblade
the
1.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying. That's what I'm saying. If it is done very well, like in some situations, it's good, but it is such an easy thing to mess up, and when you mess it up, it's terrible. It is very bad
No,
because
I completely agree.
I think it's
and
just a
No,
case
it,
of like,
Chronica,
it removes free will into the
yeah,
equation. I get it. We get it. We get it.
I
and
think it's just an
Chronica is a
overused
very
trope.
good. Yeah, that too. But Chronica is kind of a situation like that because she's supposedly been controlling time itself behind the scenes and keeping everything quote unquote balanced for all of time, despite the fact that she's never been mentioned before. She's never been foreshadowed. She's never been seen before, and she completely breaks the world building of MK11. And I'm not about to argue the world building and lore of Mortal Kombat is 10 out of 10 perfect. It's confusing
I feel like
as
that's the
all.
bigger issue because with Mortal Kombat's lore and stuff making no sense, having a character that controls everything, it's like, okay, so you're telling me this really dumb thing that happened, you were controlling that
Exactly.
too?
Yeah, exactly.
That's where
It's
Destiny
so dumb.
characters fall flat, but a good Destiny character like in Xenoblade 1 where you're like, oh my god.
Just refer to Persona 5 Royal character because that's just a better one.
No, but Xenoblade 1 is really good as well.
No, it's really good, but I don't exactly think it falls into free will. That's just a
No,
that's
I'd
just a god
say
complex. It's not a free will thing. It's a
well,
god
no,
complex.
well,
The free will is the Persona 5 royal thing.
the free will thing in Persona 5, that's for like the player, but like the god complex, that's literally something like the final boss has, or like a messiah complex, I'd say.
No, I know, but I just don't
I'm
want you
gonna
to. I
save
don't want you to
you.
mix it up. Because like the villain in Xenoblade, like the villain I know you're talking about in Xenoblade 1, that's not really a free will thing.
Yeah, no, I'm saying they're taking away the free will that you thought you had. That's my point.
Well, you
Of
do
a
have it.
of
You
a
do have it. It's just
no,
these.
no, no, you
I get
have
what
it,
you're saying, but
but they're taking it
yeah.
away. That's the thing with the Destiny character. Usually it leads into I've been controlling you the entire time. This is your destiny, but then the player is going to be like, "Nah, fuck that. I have free will." And that's just a
Okay,
very
let's
easy
Yeah.
stop
thing to mess
referring to
up.
Xenoblade because no one's gonna know what the fuck we're talking about.
Well,
Yeah,
I
that's a
think just
good point.
I think the trope we're talking about, that's the biggest
No,
thing.
I get that, but no one's gonna know what the fuck we're talking about.
I
But
mean, do they even understand the Mortal Kombat thing?
yes, because there are more people who play Mortal Kombat than there are than fucking Xenoblade.
Even the ones that do play, they don't understand. Mortal Kombat lore makes no damn sense.
You can play 11, you can understand it. Trust me.
Yeah, I
I'm
had
just
zero
I'm being look, I'm being
clue.
object. I'm just being objective. I'm just saying. But yeah, villains. I mean, that's actually an interesting thing we can talk about too. Is that like, is it really worth like making that good of a villain? Like, if the story is not like the main like. If the story is not the main reason to play the game, then should the villain really be like sent like have a lot of time to develop or be centralized? You know what I mean?
Well, I
I
think that's
think
where we can lead
you
into
can.
iconic parts of a villain. Because if they're not really supposed to be big into the story, maybe they're just a fun big bad. Like Bowser, like he isn't the greatest villain of all time. Don't get me wrong, but people
Yeah, but he's still
remember him.
iconic. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's iconic.
and he also like beyond just like when you were taking him knocking the bridge down every time, he started to get a little more character bits where he's just funny, goofy. He put himself in a wedding outfit and proposed. He does a lot of fun stuff. So, and that
Yeah,
makes him
exactly.
iconic.
Not just that, but like people just like Bowser. He's a fun personality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or then you
I
have
think.
straight up villains as well, like in Zelda, I'd say, where story is not the main part of Zelda. Most of the time, it's the gameplay. But like Ganondorf as a villain works pretty well.
Yes, he
Most
does.
of the time, at least.
For the role he plays, I think he plays it like pretty well. I love Ganondorf. I really do. And there's a reason why he's iconic because like he's the king of evil. He's like you're going on a quest to defeat the king of evil and save the princess, and that shit's just awesome. It really is.
Also, he
Yeah,
just has a lot of interesting actions in each game because he's not always the same villain. He has a similar path that he follows. I mean, he is like literally a reincarnation, so
yeah.
there you
Well,
go.
technically in the lore, every Ganondorf is the same Ganondorf, except maybe Tears of the Kingdom. That's confusing. But every Ganondorf is
Wait, I thought that was only Twilight
technically.
Princess.
No, Wind Waker Ganondorf. Again, I'm gonna say this with a grain of salt because I could be a little back on my Zelda lore, but I'm pretty sure that every Ganondorf you see is a continuation from Ocarina of Time Ganondorf. Wind Waker Ganondorf is Ocarina of Time Ganondorf. Twilight Princess Ganondorf is Ocarina of Time Ganondorf. I don't remember if there's a Ganondorf in the Downfall timeline. There might not be. I think it's just Ganons. But
Holy shit, you're right. No, I'm looking this up right now. You're right. Holy hell, I actually never knew that.
yeah, I'm up on. I keep up on my Zelda lore.
The main
Good.
thing I know Ganondorf wise with his reincarnation thing is started at Skyward Sword. You fought the Mai's, like this evil god of darkness, and then he laid a curse that like the hero would and like princess, they would keep reincarnating that way, but also like a vessel for him would keep reincarnating that would always be there to basically just be a menace.
So true.
Yeah. There are people I've seen that want like a Zelda game where you see like Ganon break free of Demise's curse. And I think it could work, but only if the Ganondorf within that game was younger. because a lot of the time Ganondorf is depicted as much like older, like not like an
He's an
old man, but like he's older than Link and Zelda. I think if you wanted to make a Zelda game where Ganondorf breaks free of Demise Curse, it has to be a much younger Ganondorf that's more like naive, or not like he's not as wise within his ways, because that's what makes Ganondorf so great. He's smart and cunning, and he knows how to manipulate the characters into getting
Yeah,
what they
since
want.
Ocarina of Time, like you're going on this little quest, and I don't care about spoiling this a little bit because it's a multiple decades
very
old
old
game.
game. Very old game.
Yeah, but like when you're playing as a kid, you're running around, you're collecting these little stones and stuff, and you're like, I'm saving the world, yay! And then you finally pull the Master Sword out, and you're like, yeah, I'm saving the world. I'm that guy. I'm gonna kill Ganondorf. And then
I'm
he shows
him.
up, and he's like, hey, thanks for doing that, dumbass.
Yeah.
You just let me get into the God world.
Going back to
There's actually a pretty similar point in Wind Waker where Ganondorf is sort of just running around, causing a bunch of like chaos, but you have the Master Sword, and so you're like, I have to defeat Ganondorf. So you go and awaken like the Master Sword. Or actually no, wait, no, I'm getting it wrong. You get the Master Sword and go confront Ganon with it, but it doesn't have any power. And it turns out by removing the Master Sword, you've actually made it to where Ganon now has complete power over you. And it's a similar plot point to what Brewer was going on about with the whole Ocarina of Time thing, where he manipulated Link into getting the Master Sword so that he could get his own power back and ultimately become much more stronger.
Well, I wouldn't say in Ocarina of Time he manipulated, because I don't even think you only have like one interaction with him before you pull the sword out.
Well,
yeah, you
it's a
literally only have
similar. Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's a similar thing though. Like you are getting him more power through your own actions, and that's
Yeah.
what makes Ganondorf such a good villain. Is that he's able to play off of the character's actions so well, and he's able to cause so much chaos like that.
Yeah, I think Ocarina of Time where it worked is because like it wasn't like he was manipulating you. He just knew your dog shit plan and then played off of that for his own benefit.
Yeah. One thing I want to go back into, you mentioned like making Ganondorf younger. I think I want Ganondorf to remain old, and a big part into that is just the intimidation factor.
Yeah,
Intimidation works really good for a villain.
well, so hypothetically, if they were to do a game where Ganondorf would break free the Mises Curse, the reason I think it would be
He's gonna do intimidation.
I know, but the only reason I said that is because respectively, Ganondorf would not be the villain in that story. He would kind of more be like an anti-hero, I guess, something like that. But I just want to make that clarification.
I don't know. The main reasons we love Ganondorf though is
I know,
again,
that's
he's a
why I'm
menace.
saying. That's
No,
why
we get
I'm
it. No,
saying.
we get it, Connor. We get it.
We get it. Because like also in Tears of the Kingdom, he isn't like nearly as well written, I think, as like some of the older Ganondorfs. But he's
Yeah, the Tears of the Tears of the Kingdom Ganondorf is just he's just power hungry. I mean, that's all Ganondorfs, but he's not as like manipulative or anything. You know what I mean?
It's nowhere near as like
Twilight Princess
Gan-
Ganondorf or Ocarina of Time. Yeah.
Wind Waker Ganondorf was power hungry, but when you actually I think you could make a lot of comparisons to Wind Waker Ganondorf and TOTK Ganondorf, because you don't see them a lot within the story, but when you do, they leave an impact. It's just that Wind Waker Ganondorf does it so much better because he actually is somewhat sympathetic within that story.
And the main thing I think makes more sense with Wind Waker Ganondorf, and it's gonna just be kind of a more joke rant, but like same thing with like Maxie and like Pokemon Ruby. I think having more land may just make a little more sense for the worlds they're in.
That's
Yeah,
big
they
true.
are. Oh my
Big
god,
true.
the villain teams were literally like, "I want more land. No, I want more water."
Yeah, because like no water or more water, it doesn't make sense to me. Like you're literally just flooding everything. But more
Literally,
land,
more land
I can kind
is
of
just
see a
better.
point for that because that's more space for people to live on. I mean, some of it may not
It's
be as habitable, but over time, that's just more land that people can use. And fuck
it's
the ocean.
funny because countries like the Netherlands have made like artificial shores because they just need more land.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
and honestly,
I'm just saying.
So,
I'm gonna be real.
speaking of
Fuck
po-
12 million unidentified jellyfish. Make the ocean smaller.
You're so right.
yeah, speaking of Pokemon, to get back into video games, Pokemon
Oh God, let's talk about
has
that villain.
there
Yeah,
are
Pokemon's a
so
mixed bag with villains.
it's a very yeah exactly it's a mixed bag. You have some good ones like Giovanni, um, Team Aqua and Magma are pretty good, but you have some really bad ones as well, such as Chairman Rose from Pokemon Sword and Shield, who
prepare yourself, everyone,
is
because this is gonna be a fun one.
Yep.
okay. I genuinely want people to, if you've never played the game before,
Which is
the
a good
whole
thing.
Chairman, yes, very good. Chairman Rose's entire thing is energy. That is, if you were to nail down one thing about him, it is energy. He wants to make sure Galar has enough energy to last like 100 million years or something. I don't know, and I don't care how long it is. He, and technically, it is foreshadowed, but you never see him. So, every interaction you have with him, which is very few, he's talking about how much he wants energy. And it's like, okay, I get it. So maybe maybe he's a good guy, but whatever. Then you get to the before the final fight of the game, or not the final fight, what you get before the champion fight. And Chairman Rose is talking to the champion and he's like, "Yo dude, what's up? Listen, we need to get this energy thing that's because there's going to be like an energy crisis in 100 million years. So that means right now to tomorrow, we need to get this energy stuff on lock. I don't care if there's 100 million years left. We have to do this tomorrow. If you do not do this with me tomorrow, I am literally gonna try to like summon the devil from the Bible."
And in the world,
Yeah, during
which
like a
happens, by the way.
huge event while like a bunch of people are there. Like it's like a small child that has to use the bathroom and can't just hold it in for like 2 minutes during a play or something. So he's just
Exactly.
screaming, "I gotta use the bathroom!"
I've got to summon the devil from the Bible. And the
Yep.
worst part is that when like you find him in the middle of the thing and he's like I have unleashed Eternatus or however you pronounce his name, and
Yeah,
now
Eternatus. Yeah.
all our energy it will be fulfilled forever, but it's going crazy. Yeah, I'm going to fight you now, you little 11-year-old kid. And you fight him. And when you fight him, he doesn't say anything like, "You'll never stop Eternatus, our energy crisis is too much." He literally just says something like, "Man, it's been so long since I've had a good fight. Thanks for giving me a good fight, kid." And when I was playing that game, when I was playing the game and I read that line, I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, literally, what the fuck are you doing? Are
Yeah,
you evil, or are you some dude who just wants to get energy? Like, what are you?"
yeah,
Like,
Pokemon can have some good villains because like another one that like tries to summon the devil and Legends Arceus. I mean, he isn't the most deep character, but goddamn, if he wasn't entertaining and if his fight wasn't great, because
Chairman, yes.
Wait, are you
There are a lot of
talking like? Is it who I'm thinking of with that theme in the background?
yes.
yes, the one
Oh
who
yeah, no, that
who
one's great. That one's
the one
great.
the one who
Yeah.
tried to cosplay as Arceus.
So the thing with
Yes.
Pokemon, you could very much boil down every Pokemon villain to I want to summon the devil from the Bible. You could basically summarize almost every Pokemon villain like that. But a lot of Pokemon villains save themselves because they're either entertaining or actually kind of like intimidating. Chairman Rose is neither of that. He's a fat old man who wants energy. That is not entertaining because you never see him. You barely see him, and he's not intimidating because he's a fat old man who like basically bends the knee once you beat him. You're like, all right, go stop Eternatus. I'll be thrown in jail forever. And but you gave me a good fight, so kudos to you, kid. He's infuriating, and it is this Chairman Rose is the most I've ever cared about Pokemon Sword and Shield because of how stupidly he was written.
Yeah,
No, that's
I'll
fair.
say with Pokemon, they can make a lot of good characters. The thing is, like, the stories around those characters in the world, maybe not so much.
Yeah,
I seriously, okay, Devil's Advocate is gonna be like, but they're made for kids. Whoever says like because like they justify bad writing because it's made for kids, they're genuine idiots. Like
bullshit.
I'm being serious. They're
I mean,
There
genuine
are
like,
so
idiots.
many
kids
like
deserve good products too. That's why I don't
exactly.
I'm
get
being
get
serious
them
when
on
I
good
say
games.
this. Look, if you want an example of probably the best movie that's come out this year was an animated film. It was Across the Spider-Verse. Okay, some idiot's probably gonna say, "Oh, that was for kids because it's animation." Okay, well, let's just say if it's for kids, okay, then why did it go fucking hard on everything? And why is it genuinely like some people's favorite film? Oh, because the writer spent a lot of time developing the characters and writing out a great plot with great pacing and everything.
Exactly. And another thing, I also hate people who say just because something its target audience is children does not mean it is excused to be bad. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish their main target audience was kids, and it is one of the best animated movies of all time. It
That
is,
movie
and
slaps.
it is such a good movie, and its main target was kids, and it is amazing. It is phenomenal. Just because Pokemon's main target audience is children does not mean it gets a free excuse for being absolute terrible writing.
And this applies to all video games because I like I will judge a video game if they try to make a like very big attempt on their story. I'm gonna judge it harder because like I expect the writing to be good. That's why I don't like Xenoblade 2 a lot because the plot is bad. But a
Boo,
game like
boo, you suck.
a game like Monster Hunter, which isn't really heavy on plot, and really it's about its gameplay and its world, I'm not gonna really judge it on its plot that much because it's not putting that much effort into it. It's just trying to explain what you're doing here, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, like
Yeah.
with Ganondorf that we mentioned before, if Tears of the Kingdom and all the other Zelda games were much more story focused instead of gameplay focused, Ganondorf would probably not be on this list as a good villain, probably a bad one, because
Yeah,
yeah, nah, he doesn't he ain't it, chief. He's not right.
You
but
ain't
it's
him.
fine though because like it's not the game isn't really going for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But Pokemon's very hard to figure out because if you're going to Pokemon for good writing, it's kind of like
going
pointless
going to the
because Pokemon
supermarket for Legos. That's what I would say.
If you're going to
yeah.
Pokemon for good plot, you gotta change up something. Like I swear, dude.
Okay, hold on. Let me say this. If you're going to modern Pokemon for good writing, you are disillusioned because some past Pokemon had pretty good writing. Like
Like black and
Gen,
white.
Gen
Yeah,
Black and
Gen
White.
5.
Black and White were really well written. Gen 4, you could argue, was pretty well written as well. But modern Pokemon is literally just there for Game Freak to make money. That is it. Like there's no other point.
There's bits and sparkles of like good in there that's usually buried
Gen
under the fact
Gen
that the
9
team like time crunched to all hell.
Yeah, there was like little tiny sparks of a good story within Scarlet and Violet that were not there in Sword and Shield. So automatically, it's already better. Is that there were actually like characters I cared about because the story
But it's still not
dedicated
a good
time to them.
plot.
Oh
It's
no
still
no
not a
no!
good plot though.
I am not saying that at all. It is still not a good plot, but it is better than whatever the hell Gen 8 was story wise.
Yeah.
Absolute ass. But yeah, that just goes back into villains. Yeah,
One thing
go for it.
could
Go
I
for it.
mention before we like really probably close off on villains? Could I mention like villains that are kind of entities? Or they're
Yeah,
not like
I mean,
because this one's
no,
gonna
yeah,
be kind of
go for
funny,
it.
but stick with me for a bit.
Oh my
Stardew
God.
Valley.
Wait, what?
Stardew Valley.
I was
Brewer,
so afraid you were going to mention Xenoblade.
What is bro waffling about?
All right,
Okay,
stick
hold
with
up.
me for a
Explain
second.
this. No. Let him cook. Let him cook.
Yeah,
on
let,
this.
no.
let me
Let,
cook.
let him cook. Let him cook.
No,
Okay,
if
so
he mentioned Xenoblade, I was not gonna let him cook. But Stardew Valley, cook
Xenoblade
please.
does have some good villains, but let me cook for a second.
Two
Okay,
good villains, but yes.
so in Stardew Valley, the way you start off the game, right, is that you are working a shitty corporate job. Like, it's absolutely terrible. Like, if you look in the next cubicle over, there's literally a skeleton. But then you remember, you take out the letter that Grandpa said, "Hey, if you're ever feeling like life sucks, read this." And then you went on and died, but who cares? But you read it, and it's like you go to a farm, right? You get his farmland, and to just get away from all the horrors of real life, like working an office job. But in Stardew Valley, while you're working on the farm, there is another like place over close by. It's called Joja Mart. And think of that as basically the Walmart of the world. Okay?
Okay.
So while you're trying to just get away from all that and live your normal life, Walmart is slowly invading your just nice little country life because they have these horrible Joja sodas. They're trying to take over the town little by little, and you can even like get what I would say is a bad ending by paying them to like fix all the stuff in your area, and then they take over the town. Or you can go back to your roots with the little magic people called Junimos, and then get their ratty asses out of there.
So basically, this
I've never played Stardew
Walmart.
Valley, by the way.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither.
Yeah,
So
Stardew
basically,
Valley,
this.
not a complex story, but what is there is kind of just like I say corporation or just like modern America in a way versus just the old life, just simple life.
So this Walmart thing is basically America whenever any third world country discovers oil.
Yeah, think of it as like Nestle taking water from third world countries and making those said places pay them for
Oh,
their
sick.
own water. Yeah, Joja is kind of like that in Stardew Valley. Not to the same degree, because story isn't the main focus of Stardew, but they do, I think, work as an entity villain where it's not one person, it's kind of a whole group that their influence is slowly creeping into your life.
Yeah. You
That makes
know,
sense.
there's another villain that you could sort of describe as that, and that would be the imposter from Among Us.
He is an entity. You're so right.
I guess so.
The
I guess
imposter from Among Us is an all-consuming entity that can choose any player it wants to take control and send on a murder spree, all for nothing but blood.
that is an interesting thing to like talk about though, is that like entity villains I don't think are very compelling, in my opinion. Like, obviously there are some that can be done right, which sounds to me like Stardew Valley is done right, but I am going to assume that's mainly because like the game doesn't really have a big central antagonist, so it really can only work as an entity.
Yeah, it's again, it's not the main focus of the game, but
Yeah, exactly.
it's an entity that's kind of getting in the way of what you're trying to escape, or they
I
keep bringing
think
back what you're trying to run from.
I
Yeah,
think you
because like
could make the
name like a
entity.
villain. You first, yeah.
I was gonna say like Calamity Ganon could be argued to be like an entity villain because they're more so a force of nature than
Yeah,
an
but is he a good
actual.
one?
Yeah, Calamity Ganon is like an example of like a entity villain done like pretty poorly. Like they just do not contribute that much. Like
Yeah, but
you
he
really,
doesn't really have to be that like good, considering that like that's not the
yeah,
main point of the game.
Yeah,
yeah.
again, Zelda's never been mainly about the story. It can be an
There
important
are,
aspect, but it's more so as a like mechanism to get you going to actually finish your quest.
I would argue that there are very good Zelda games where it's about the story, like Skyward Sword. Definitely, I think the story definitely is like a big part of that, even better than the gameplay. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
That's a hot take, but that's for
yeah.
another day.
I won't say its story is better than some of the other Zelda games, but I don't know about better
That's
than
for sure.
gameplay.
But
It's definitely one of my hot takes, but yeah.
But I guess like to end off this section a little bit, and frankly the episode in general, because we're getting to that point. I mean, entity villains, in my opinion, are always going to be lesser than like physical like in person character villains. And frankly, like I don't know any like really good entity villains. Like someone can like change my mind in the comments. Like please do, because off the top of my head, I don't really have any in mind or that I can remember from the games I've played. But yeah, I mean,
Well, I think
well,
just
guys,
because in a human's mind, just characters and people will always be stronger impact than something that's trying to represent like a collective idea.
exactly.
Because like Joja that I mentioned, I think it's good, but it's not no Sephiroth.
I think you
Exactly.
can definitely make arguments for what is an entity villain. Like you could argue that a zombie infection is an entity villain on its own, but again, like entity villains are very like
Also, they're a bit more
it's
few and far between.
yeah.
Yeah.
But with that being said, that's the end of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it. I mean, is there any like final thoughts we want to say about villains before we conclude it and maybe do a future episode?
I'd say
I
I think villains, while they aren't like always the main point of the game, a great villain will always leave like very fond memories in your head of the game that you've played. So it's very
Yeah, of
important to
course.
make
Yeah,
sure they're done right, even if they're not the main focus.
exactly. Like,
Because they're
who's ever gonna forget the sword fight with Ganondorf in Wind Waker? Like,
yeah,
who? Exactly.
that or the final showdown with Demise. I think like even if story isn't the focus, like a villain is always a goal to work towards in a game. So it's important you get that right because you want a good goal for your journey to make it worth it.
yeah.
Exactly. Not just
Um
that, but like, I do. You first.
I was just gonna say, to me, villains and story as a whole is like comedy. It's subjective. A lot of people like there are definitely objectively bad stories, just like there are objectively bad jokes. But a lot of like storytelling and villains are subjective. Like a person is going to like a certain story and villain more than the next. Like just a few minutes ago, I think I really like Skyward Sto- Skyward Sword's story. I like that a whole lot, but I definitely
Yeah, I think
think
the
know
story's good too.
there are definitely people out there who think it's not great or it's bad. But again, that's just sort of the appeal of human nature. Of like, we w- different people will be attracted to different things based off their life experiences and stuff like that.
Yeah, like, well, I think Xenoblade 2 has some good points. Guy absolutely despises it with all his energy.
Exactly, like it's
Yeah, we all
Yeah,
have
subjective.
different
exactly.
opinions.
Like Brewer has points, and I think objectively. So again, it's just how it is. But still,
Not enough opinions.
sure. Um, but but yeah, it's just like villains, in my opinion. Like I gotta give writers a lot of credit for making good villains because that shit is harder to do than write a good protagonist. Because you have
Yeah,
to contradict. You have to like oppose your protagonist and the character that you're following along, and most likely the character you like the most, and you have to make it reasonable and compelling. That's hard to do.
yeah.
Yeah, make what they're
Something.
doing actually make sense.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's
This.
so hard to do, and I gotta give credit to him.
Yeah. Like villains come in all shapes and sizes, and there are definitely better versions of characters. We've talked about some great ones like Doc Ock from Spider-Man PS4, GLaDOS from Portal, Ganondorf, Bowser. Um, I can't remember the name of Borderlands 2 guy, but he sounds pretty
Handsome
great.
Jack.
Handsome Jack.
Handsome Jack.
Handsome
Handsome Jack.
Jack, Senator Armstrong. We talked about a lot of great films, but there are also a lot of bad ones. And
You're
so
so right.
I think to give any advice to like anyone who wants to write, and it's something I still struggle with as an aspiring writer, you need.
And we are not professional writers, by the way. That
Oh yeah, no, no, no,
we are
hundred
not
percent.
professional. Yeah.
I yeah, that get that out of the way. Yes, I am not a professional at all. I I just want to be a writer. But something that I think is good to take in advice is focus, depending on the story you're telling, obviously, but focusing on the villain is very important because that is the main conflict of your story.
Yeah, like I said
Exactly.
before,
I completely agree.
it's like I said, it's the driving force behind your entire journey and quest. So give me a good reason to keep going in this quest, and that reason can be a bastard that I have to take down at the end of the game.
Exactly. It is hard, and I appreciate people so much for just making like good writing, and it's just like I don't know, like really think about some of your favorite villains, like think about why they're your favorite villains, and most of the time it's going to be like because they contrast the protagonist and they were well thought out for the conflict. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd say definitely everyone. If you have an interesting villain that we did not cover in this episode, definitely leave it in the comments.
Yeah,
Yeah, of
this there's
course. And
definitely gonna be a part two to
oh
this. There are just
this is
there's too
definitely gonna have a
many.
part two soon.
Yeah, there's too many villains and too many good and bad ones for us to cover in a single episode. So there will be a part two.
Not just that, but there's also so many topics we can talk about with villains because like villains are just as important as
Yeah,
protagonists.
we've hardly even touched on like gameplay, like boss fights, like
Oh, you're
final boss
so
fights.
right. God, you were so yeah. We've been focusing really on the writing aspect of it. You're really true. Oh
So
my God,
yeah,
you're right.
Well,
so
I think that works in
in
for like a boss topic versus
but
like a
yeah,
villain. They are usually intertwined, but usually depending on your game, one aspect is more important than the other. Like Zelda
yeah.
has a bigger focus on the fights being fun, whereas like what's a good one for story? You'd say, like the Master Detective game I mentioned. I'd say it's more.
I'm gonna say P5R final boss.
Yeah,
I'll agree with Guy.
yeah.
I'm not
Let's
gonna.
just go with that.
What's an obvious one? For like gameplay and story, I want to say. Oh fuck, easy. Baldur from God of War. Holy shit.
Oh
Yeah, that
yeah.
works.
God, that is a very obvious one. Holy shit, I'm surprised we didn't even mention that.
Um, I guess another character that sort of goes into that gameplay and story thing. Um, I'm gonna get like shit on
Let's
for
save it for
this.
another episode because this is
Actually,
we're
yeah,
going
no,
way
no,
over.
no, yeah, no, yeah, we're running a bit high on time. Um,
Yeah,
thank you everyone for watching. This has been
thank you, gamers.
Fetchquest. Make sure
Yeah,
to hit that like button, like Sephiroth hit Liam with that down air.
so true.
And subscribe to us and comment what some of your favorite villains are, and if you are going to just become a menace like they are.
Yeah.
So true. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. We've been Fetchquest. This has been our episode about villains. Thank you very much. Good night.
Bye.